What's up everyone? In this video, we're going to discuss what Tailwind CSS is. Before we get started though, make sure you're subscribed to my channel and getting notifications so you never miss when I release a video about Tailwind, Payload CMS, Next.js, and more. Now, let's dive in. Tailwind CSS is a powerful CSS framework that helps both solo developers and teams of developers to prototype designs quickly, work within a specific design system, and create styles in the same file as their components. The major draw of Tailwind CSS is that you're able to build and design modern websites without ever leaving your HTML or TSX files. Tailwind calls themselves a utility-first CSS framework, meaning that you chain classes that do one or two specific things until you reach the desired effect. This also makes Tailwind incredibly lightweight because you don't need to import large style sheets like you might need to for other frameworks. Instead, you just use the classes and the compiler builds just what you need. Tailwind has everything you need to design modern sites built in, but you're also able to extend it using themes. This allows you to change default fonts and colors to match what you want your website to look like, rather than sticking to the out-of-the-box features and styles. At the end of January 2025, the Tailwind team released the next iteration of the Tailwind framework, version 4.0. This new version shipped with a better performance engine, fewer dependencies, refined color palettes, and support for new CSS features. All of these updates create a more efficient and more performant experience using Tailwind compared to previous versions. There's less to configure, so you can get up and running much faster. So how is it different from Bootstrap? Tailwind CSS has long been popular with developers and is often compared to frameworks like Bootstrap. So how is it different? Bootstrap prides itself on its ease of use for beginner web devs, those just getting started with HTML and professionals alike. It makes it incredibly easy to rapidly design something that looks like it took a lot longer to design than it really did. Because of this, Bootstrap will likely remain popular for a long time. Tailwind also makes it easy to rapidly design something that looks professional, but in my opinion, it requires more knowledge about how CSS works in order to use it. That might make it harder for the true beginners to use it without a learning curve. Bootstrap comes with many pre-designed web UI components that, for the most part, can restrict what you're able to do with each component if you don't have knowledge of CSS. While Tailwind CSS has a paid resource for UI components, it doesn't enforce its opinion on how components should look. That's up to you and how you use the utility classes. Both Bootstrap and Tailwind sites run the risk of looking like other sites that use the tools. It's important to not treat frameworks as templates for what your site should look like, but rather use frameworks to speed up the development process to match your vision for the project. Now let's talk pros and cons of Tailwind. By and far, the use of utility classes is a pro. Some of the nomenclature of the utility classes can be confusing if you aren't familiar with Tailwind, but once you get a good grasp on it, the ability to quickly design a front end is unmatched with utility classes. The use of utility classes is also a con though. As you continue to add more and more utility classes for more screen sizes and pseudo classes, the class names can appear to get out of hand and hard to recognize. There are ways to repeat class names and apply them using a separate class name, but at that point, you're just using SCSS anyway. Tailwind support is high in the developer community. Many Next.js projects, including Next itself as well as Payload CMS, use a mix of Tailwind and CSS for their websites. This means there's strong support when using these tools and creating new projects using them. Many IDEs also have built-in support for Tailwind classes and color palettes. Another con is, as I mentioned earlier, many modern websites use Tailwind. That means if you're not careful, your site can very easily start to look like many other sites that already exist. So be careful to use Tailwind to build your vision for your website rather than letting it dictate what your website should look like. One last pro for Tailwind CSS is the seamless integration into components. Instead of having a bunch of CSS modules for a lot of different components, you can keep your project structure clean and easy to navigate by foregoing CSS modules altogether in favor of utility classes in the components. This also makes it easier when reusing your components to either ensure uniformity or allowing for additional class names to be added when the component is used. Tailwind is an extremely powerful and flexible CSS framework that pairs seamlessly with many modern web development tools like Next.js and Payload CMS. While there are pros and cons to using it in your projects, it's still an amazing tool that's worth learning. If you found this video helpful, please like it and share it with others who might also find it useful. Check to make sure you're subscribed to my channel and receiving notifications so you never miss when I release more content around Tailwind, Payload CMS, Next.js, and more. If you have suggestions or questions, please leave those in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until then, I'll see you on the next one.